Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is JGOD. In today's video, we're going to do the best settings for Modern Warfare. Obviously, it's a beta, but pretty much everything they've shown in the beta is going to transfer over to the full game. And I don't really see them changing much when it comes to the specific settings for the different controller settings. If you find the video helpful, hit the like button. And if you're new around here, would like to find your way back for more Call of Duty content, make sure you do subscribe with notifications on. Let's go ahead and get into it. So right here, I go ahead and run a default layout. The main reason for that is because I use a SCUF controller. With the SCUF controller, I have paddles on the back, which work as my jump and or slide depending on which buttons I press. And then that allows me to actually be able to take advantage of the mechanics. But what you typically want to go ahead and do is either the tactical or the bumper jumper. Tactical, bumper jumper. So one of those three settings is the typical way to go unless you have a controller with paddles on the back or you're just used to it the other way. But typically you're going to get more out of having bumper jumper tactical, or tactical. I kind of look at them and see which one's a little bit better for you. More often than not, it's going to be the tactical that people are going to go ahead and go with. You can go ahead and do the tactical layout if you want to go that route. I'm particular going with default. Stick layout, and then we have inverted look. I usually have that disabled. I know some people have that active, but that one's really a matter of preference. I have my sensitivity at 5.5. In Black Ops 4, I have it at 6.6. In World War II, I think I had it at 5.5. In Infinite Warfare, I think I had it at 5.5. So it's kind of where I kind of stick it with. And then I also have the different rifle scope and then marksman scope. So rifle scopes, these are a little bit low magnification. And then these ones are typically more for the sniper. So I have a 5.5.75, and that's pretty much the way I have it. As far as the aim assist, I know everyone was getting super hyped about the standard versus the precision and the focusing. Overall, I think if you're used to the aim assist that we've ever had in Call of Duty, the standard is going to be the way to go. They do give the descriptions here where it says that strong slowdown that only kicks in when you're aiming closer to the target, best for accurate players, and that's precision. Maybe it'll give you kind of... When I use precision, I feel like I miss more shots than I do with the standard. I went ahead and tried focusing because I maybe thought, hey, you know what, that one's for the newbier players. Maybe that's going to be super aim assist. They went ahead and changed the names on these ones. And the focusing one says strong aim slowdown that only kicks in when you narrowly missing targets, best for players new to analog aiming. So if you've never used a controller before, use that one, which kind of doesn't really make sense. And then we got the standard traditional aim slowdown near target. I would stick with that one. As far as the aim response curve type, I've gone ahead and did standard and linear. I don't really notice a difference. I ended up leaving it linear just because that's what the setting was on. But overall, I don't think this one really matters as much. Dynamic, that one's kind of a little bit weird. I would kind of avoid that one unless you're just comfortable with it. But odds are standard and linear will be just fine. As far as the ADS mount, I leave melee button, so that's where the tactical comes in. Use tactical, then you're going to have to press circle, and that will allow you to mount. So you don't accidentally mount an object that you're not trying to mount. So you can actually focus on it that way instead of actually accidentally mounting. And then you get the weapon mount exit movement. Pretty much what happens is if you have this disabled, you have to press the button prompt to get out of that. But ideally, if you just strafe, it's going to break you off of that wall and allow you to get out of that animation. Right here, we have the aim down sight behavior. Hold, obviously you could toggle it, but ever since shooting games have been a thing, at least on console, I don't think anyone does toggle. Behavior equipment, it's hold. Typically you're gonna hold. If you do toggle, then it'll kind of allow you to throw equipment when maybe you want to cook a nade or something like that. You definitely want to leave that hold. Reload behavior, tap to reload. You could use hold or contextual, but I think overall just tap to reload is what we're used to. They give us a lot of options. If you want to go ahead and step outside the box, you're more than welcome to, but at the end of the day, keep it simple and it'll work for you. We also have depleted ammo weapon switch. So this is going to switch to your pistol if you run out of ammo. You don't want to make sure that doesn't happen. So you stick with your weapon. Maybe you can throw an ammo bag or pick up another weapon or whatever. You want to be in control of that particular motion. Make sure you disable that, but I have that enabled. Movement, slide, I have it hold. If you do tap, maybe you're going to slide when you don't want to, when you're actually running. But as far as holding goes, you should be able to take advantage of that. I would definitely recommend hold. Vehicle camera recenter. The camera recenters, never recenters itself. The camera recenters itself automatically after a short moment. So if you're using a vehicle, typically you want it to center itself. And that's pretty much how that part works. When we get into the general, you could use keyboard and mouse or controller. As far as the safe area, I have that as small as possible. You will have to look into your PlayStation settings or your Xbox settings to see how you do it even further. It's typically in just the settings. You'll be able to shrink that. So the HUD will end up being on the top right corner of where this white outline is, instead of all the way to the far top left corner, which will give you a little bit more visibility when you're trying to aim down sight. Especially with the mini map and then the compass, you want everything to be a little bit closer, so when your eyes are looking around, you'll be able to see, especially since the opacity on the actual mini map is kind of see-through, so you want it closer so you don't have to look quite as far. Field grain I have off. Brightness I kind of left the same. You could up this one a little bit just because there's so many dark areas, at least until they fix those areas of the map. I would go with like a 75 in the meantime, and then you could always bump it up or down depending on how their modifications go, because they said they're going to look into making it so you're able to see people a little bit easier. And then, and you can even put in whatever difference there. I have colorblind disabled. Sometimes people want that because maybe they want their kill feed a certain color, or they want people to pop out a little bit differently. Typically, I leave that one alone unless you actually have any of these types of forms of colorblindedness. Text chat is enabled. Motion blur, you want that disabled. As you can see, the one on the left is significantly easier to see, especially if someone's gonna be sitting in that window, which more than likely, if you're coming out of spawn, someone's probably camping in that window trying to hit you off of spawn. And then the right one, you could barely see anything. So I'd highly recommend disabling that. Weapon motion blur, same thing. On this one, you're, instead of the background getting blurry, the weapon actually gets blurry. So to keep everything in focus and you know what's going on, I would disable both of those. Dismemberment, if you're not a fan of that, and maybe you're a child or you want your children playing that, that's where you would disable that. And that's pretty much how that goes. But here's where the tricky part comes in. Headphones, there's actually a thing as you look at the bottom left of the screen, it says more options. Click more options, it'll actually allow you to go through the different mixes. So if you wanted to go ahead and hear that one, you can go ahead and play, and you'll actually hear the audio. So if you want to find the one that's right for you, you can hear the gunfire, so you get directional gunfire. You can hear the footsteps, you hear the commentary, the audio, and that reflects what your settings are. So when choosing one of these, this is how you're gonna be able to figure it out. I highly recommend headphones 1 or 3. And those were the ones that I felt like when I actually sat down, listened quietly, those are the ones where I felt like I could hear everything a little bit crisper. And the only thing that I really care about hearing in the game, I don't care about explosions or any of that stuff. All I care about is footsteps, because when you don't have a mini map, or maybe there's not a UAV or whatever the case is, you're gonna want to be able to hear where your enemies are coming from. Go ahead and preempt them, or just position yourself in a better spot to win that gunfight. By having it in headphones 1 or 3, you're going to be able to do that. Headphones 2, you don't really hear it so much. TV 1 and 3 are kind of the same, but obviously they're built more towards TVs. So if you're playing on a TV, that's a good way to go as well. Right here, the Juggernaut music, it is pretty loud. Once they get it into the game, you have access to unlock it. You can disable it within its use. I think there's a button you can press on the bottom right. It'll say, hey, yeah, disable the music because it's too loud. I think you press right on the D-pad or something. You press something so that it could turn it off. So even if you leave it enabled here, you could turn it off in-game, and vice versa. If you disable it, I'm sure you can enable it in-game. Hit marker sound. Personally, I like the classic sound. Get a little bit more thud when you hear the hit markers compared to the normal one that they've added in the game. They're kind of muffled. And then obviously if you do none, you're going to be shooting people and you're not going to even know if you're actually hitting them, other than maybe the crosshairs changing, because when you get hit markers, the crosshairs do change. I went ahead and went with classic. Voice chat, you can change that to really whatever. And then your account, if you're going to play crossplay, enabled, crossplay communication, and then display name tag. So this is with the clan tag. You can actually leave that disabled or enabled. It really just depends on what you want to do. Like I said in the beginning of the video, all these types of settings are going to transfer over to the full game. The only difference is going to be that brightness once they go ahead and fix those dark areas on the map, kind of brighten those up. Until then, I would leave the brightness a little bit higher. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, please remember to hit that like button. And if you're brand new, want to find your way back for more Call of Duty content, make sure you do subscribe with notifications on. Appreciate all the support on the channel. Thank you for watching. And as always, have a great day.